So growing veterans, can you tell us a little bit about, well, what is that?
Okay. It's a therapeutic nonprofit farm, and we offer dirt therapy to veterans. And so I guess the best way to kick it off is our mission, right? Our mission is to empower veterans and volunteers to cultivate purpose and to cultivate purpose and belonging by growing food, community, and each other. The vision is to end isolation that leads to suicide.
So dirt therapy, is that a fancy word for something?
Yeah, I mean, it's, gardening, farming, but we call it dirt therapy because of other aspects that we bring into it and just the healing nature of getting your hands in the soil and working with plants.
So I'm sure we'll dig a little bit further into that. But first off, how old is Growing Veterans? Has it been around for a while?
2012, it was founded. In 2015, it became a registered 501c3 nonprofit. So 10 years now as a nonprofit, but 13 years in existence.
13 years in existence. So what was that founding story? What was the motivation behind it?
So Chris Brown, who actually he was our president up until recently. I think he's still serving on our board. But he came back after service. He was a Marine Corps veteran in the Iraq-Afghan War, Purple Heart recipient. He came back and he was just trying to find a way to reintegrate into society. And he noticed that there was kind of a need there for veterans to get reintegrated into society and to find purpose and belonging. And he and Christina Wolf, a former mental health counselor, she's a non-veteran, he partnered with her and they just came up with this idea of hey, if we have this farm, that's kind of like the catalyst, the middle ground, right? Where we can bring veterans together and then we can build that community. We can also offer peer support to one another and then grow all this amazing food and share it with the community.
So this idea of gardening and then expanding into just general dirt therapy, has this been a pre-existing idea before Growing Veterans, or is this something that you guys just kind of stumbled into?
I mean, from the story, it sounds like it was kind of, groundbreaking at the time in 2012, bringing veterans with PTSD and moral injury to a farm and using it as a healing, what do you want to call it? A healing medium almost. And so I think there's probably been some other therapy farms out there, but as far as we know, we were kind of one of the first to start doing this.
So it's a functional therapy, but why? Why is gardening something that's so valuable that people who have such severe conditions and PTSD, I grew up with some people with that, it changes the way that they live their life. And because of that, it changes the people that are in their life. They have to live differently according to that. How can gardening and associated dirt therapies be so powerful that it starts to heal that?
That's a really big question. I'm going to try to answer it as well as I can. I'm going to touch on a lot of pieces here. Well, first off, it comes, you have PTSD, whether that's, your moral injury, like a lot of people say, the hardest wounds to heal are the ones that you can't see. But then you also have veterans coming home, with physical disabilities, losing limbs, functions of their body. Some of them are experiencing TBIs. And so, but you get out on the farm, you get your hands in the earth, you start working with plants. When you engage with the earth and the plants, your brain releases serotonin. When you harvest, your brain is releasing dopamine. So some of the stressful events you go through when you're deployed in a combat zone, being awake for 24, 48, 72 hours on a regular basis, working extended hours, always knowing that there's something that could just fall out of the sky and end your day, end your life, and you're just kind of on that high level of anxiety, that high level of awareness, it starts rewiring your brain. And so getting your hands and releasing, those feel-good chemicals in your brain, that starts helping people feel safe and open. But also when it comes to gardening, it reduces stress. It helps with strength and flexibility. It helps with your cardiovascular health. And then with the strength and flexibility piece, that's going to help prevent other injuries. And a lot of veterans are coming home with pre-existing injuries or service-connected injuries. It helps with your balance and coordination. So if you get some of our older Vietnam veterans out there and working, that's something they might be looking for. And then, of course, you're outside. What's something that a lot of people have a deficiency in Washington State? Vitamin D, right? So you're spending that time outdoors. You're getting those nutrients from the sun. Improved sleep, right? A lot of veterans come home, they have trouble sleeping. You're getting that fresh air. That's improving your cognitive function. Your mood becomes enhanced. There's just so many pieces to it. Sense of accomplishment, right? So when you're out there and you're harvesting and you're working, or maybe you're just putting seeds in the ground, you're sowing seeds, and when you get completed with the task, that's another a moment that you might be releasing some serotonin and dopamine, like you accomplished a task. And that's something the military really gives you, that purpose and belonging. And so I think when you can find that and work like this, it brings you that sense of community. And it's just, you all of a sudden realize this is a healing community. This is a healing environment that I'm in. And so it's just not, what do they call it? The placebo effect, right? It's just not like, oh, I'm just tricking myself into thinking that it's working. There's physiological data that your brain and body are responding to what you're doing and to when you're connecting with other veterans and other people in our community.
I remember reading a study, this must have been a year or so back, but I remember the big headline was that some of the happiest people, not happy necessarily, that's the wrong kind of word, but some of the most content people in a society tend to be farmers. It's people who are participating in certain kinds of work that just seem to be intuitive for us. Meanwhile, they contrasted that with people who tended to have the lowest level of contentment, were in these high tech, high demand, city-based jobs.
Yeah.
And it's funny, there is something to the idea that farming, perhaps it's the wrong language, but it is a natural activity for us. Gardening is a natural extension of who we are as people.
Absolutely. It's connecting us back to the source. Whether you're a believer of science or a believer of spirituality, when you look at either of those, and whatever your belief is, we came from the earth. We've been sustained through time from the earth. So no wonder why when you work with the earth, you're like, man, I feel good. Like, pun intended, you're getting back to your roots, and it's gonna make you feel good because that's where we belong. That's how we sustain ourselves. If we don't have food, we don't have people. If we don't have community, we don't have civilization.
Mm-hmm. And it's always fun whenever you get to meet someone. I got to do a little bit of this because I got into a little bit of gardening it was after COVID. I was going through some immigration stuff, so I wasn't able to work. So I started gardening because I got bored and I panicked. And once you kind of get into that little bit of a community, you find other people that are also kind of like often a little bit amateurish, but they're getting into it. And the kind of passion and interest that it just sparks into people, like, oh, you're gardening and you're failing too? Great, I'm gardening and failing too. But every now and then I get this great yield of something. And there's that sense of accomplishment that's so intuitive to the human experience.
Absolutely. And like you were saying, Cole, about, farmers, gardeners are some of the happiest people, or they're living like enriched lives. It's because every day you wake up and you have that sense of hope, right? Let's go check on that seed. Let's go check on that sapling. Let's go see how my blueberries are growing. Let's see, I got to go check on my bees now to make sure that their colonies, right? You have purpose, you have belonging, but then you get that sense of accomplishment when you're harvesting. And so you just have something to look forward to every day. And so I think that's why I think that, they have a prolonged life. While they might have a little bit more of a positive outlook on life, it's because every day they're putting into the earth, into the soil, and then it's giving back to them.